Okay, snare technique. We're going to start with singles here. This is pretty straightforward. Let's make sure all these rhythmical values change on a dime. This is a fulcrum changing exercise. On some tempos and some heights, you might be in the back fulcrum, middle, or front. As the rhythms get faster, you're probably going to go more to the front fulcrum. Similar to being in a car and going uphill, you're going to have to push the gas a little bit more, and as you're going downhill, you're going to have to put on the brakes. That's how I think about the fulcrums here. Faster tempos and higher heights and quicker rhythms are going to use front fulcrum most of the time, and slow rhythms are going to have to be held on to a little bit more in the back fulcrum and close your hands. Back fulcrum, have total control. As you open up, middle fulcrum is about an inch. Middle fulcrum has about an inch difference here, and then we get to the front, we start opening up. There are a lot of in-betweens in fulcrum. You can have all shades of in-between too, so I could say this is more of a back middle, where I kind of letting some air in between my stick here and relaxing, but it still has a lot of control. Or it could be, towards the front, but it's not completely front, so it's front middle. So there's all these different shades of gray in between these fulcrums. Now if you slow down the tempos or you speed up the tempos in drumlineshops.com, it's probably going to be different depending on how much you slow it down or speed it up. But I'm just going to talk about 120 right now. So eighth notes at this tempo. It's definitely in control, so I'm kind of in the back, although I'm trying to get to the middle mentally. 16th notes, yeah, these are just pretty much straight up middle. Open up about that much. Okay, and the 6 tuplets. Yeah, I'm just gonna go to the front for this. So you're gonna have to do all these switches here. So sometimes it's good to think about where you're gonna be on what beat. So back, back, middle, middle, back, back, middle, middle, back, back, front, back, front, back, middle, middle, back, middle, middle, and so on. At the same time, you have to get the same heights going on too. So there's a lot to think about here. It is straightforward, but there's a lot to work on. Let's just start with 8th notes because it's hard to put on the brakes after the 16th notes and the 16th note 6 tuplets. And so the 8th notes on the left hand are really hard to play sometimes. So we want to get a feel for that, and then we're going to start adding some note values. So just start with 8th notes. Really get a feel for that left. Okay? Let's repeat the first measure now. Wait, wait, wait. So I would be thinking about my left hand as well as downbeats. Okay, so let's go back to 8 notes. Now let's loop measure 2. Now, the 6 tuplet you can think about in 2 different ways. The right hand's playing triplets. So that's something you can be thinking. Also, you can break a 6 tuplet in half. So 3 and 3, that would put 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. Right, left, right. So you can break this down. We have a single stroke 4. Maybe put on the 8th notes. You're lining up the left hand. Right, left, right, left. Then you could do a single stroke 4 in the upbeat. Right, left, right. Let's put some accents in there. It's also good to start with copycat to make sure that our brain and fulcrum are kind of functioning at the right level before we even try this. So copy me. I'll be you when I play on the rim. How about that? Okay, let's give it a shot. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Triplet rolls. Depending on your skill level, on these drags, you might be pumping them out with the push-pull technique, depending on the tempo. If you're a younger player, you're probably still developing your drags, and you're probably going for more of a 2-for-1 special drag, where you open in the back, you're setting the pressure, and using your arm. If you're older, you might be pumping it out. Either way, we want to go for the perfect interpretation. Now, when you drag on a triplet, 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 you're creating a sextuplet. So if you played this in singles, it'd be triplet, triplet, sextuplet. So we would want to make sure our drags sound just as good. So technically, when you're playing triplet check, you'd be using wrists. Again, depending on the tempo, it might be a different fulcrum, but at this tempo at 120, it's pretty much in the back fulcrum, total control. Of course, I'm not over gripping. Be able to play this where you go from your wrist to your arm for your drags, or just stay with arms even during the check. I know that's a little strange. You usually wouldn't play these triplets with arm, but sometimes when we get really fast, we're going to want to make sure that we're getting the idea of the arm in there. Sometimes it's about the concept we're trying to learn instead of the correct technique. You're trying to work on a concept. So be able to play, when you're doing this faster, be able to play your check with your arm and make sure the arm is constant the whole time. I'm going to be switching back and forth because that's a more real world and difficult way to do this, so I want you guys to be able to switch as well. All right, so let's do primer first. I'm going to go triplet, triplet, and then I'm doing a press buzz. That's not the correct buzz either. I'm just trying to make sure I'm hearing the timing of the pressure change, and I'm opening up in the back and getting my arm involved, okay? Now when I get to line 2, I'm gonna drop heights immediately so I can get some 2-height system going on. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Drop. Okay, no accent at the end. All right, so do that a couple times until you're very consistent with your timing. Now let's turn into a regular buzz. 1, 2, ready, go. Don't change the color at the end. Now it's a matter of finding that perfect pressure to get a perfect double. You might want to do this just with your right hand dragging, so you can hear that gallop type rhythm. Dig it up, dig it up, dig it up. I think that'll also help you focus on your right hand changing heights there at the end. Most novice players are gonna, on that downstroke, are gonna accidentally come up to the middle fulcrum and they're not gonna close their hand. And their first drag is gonna be here, and their next drag is gonna be at the correct level. Make sure you get a pure downstroke. close, open, open, close, open, open. Don't open until it's time. Otherwise, if you're open on that accent, it's gonna pop up. Close, open, open, close, open, open. Don't open until the last second. Okay, and make sure you're actually closed for that accent. Okay, and then you can do the left hand as well. I think your left's gonna want to be early. Even I was a little early there, so make sure you wait on the left. So if you were pumping this out, you would hear a little bit increase in volume here. So here's the way a novice player plays it in a good way. Where they're getting that 2-for-1 special. When we're getting closer to high school or in high school, we really need to be pumping out that sound for sound quality. It's still the same interpretation. Perfect interpretation, but it has a bigger sound because the second note is being pulled up into itself. Here's normal. And you hear me pump it out at the end, okay? This is good to do. It's helpful to play on a soft surface like a pillow that gives no rebound. You have to really work those muscles. Okay, and then when you get on a pad, it seems that much easier. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, duple timing number 1. So first off, the order I put it in here is to work on your right hand flow versus your left hand flow. So for example, when you're playing 16th notes, both hands have this flow in each hand. Now when you get to A and B, that flow stays in the right hand, but the left hand's more of a downstroke, also depending on the tempo. So for example, when you're playing 1 EN, 2 EN, or 1 tite, 2 tite, coconut, coconut on the A variation, you can see how your right hand is constant. And your left hand has that downstroke, okay? For beginners, probably we're gonna be doing this to start, so you won't have a downstroke yet. But I'm gonna talk about downstroke because that's more difficult for later on. Okay, same thing for B. 1 and a 2 and a 1, teta 2, teta, strawberry, strawberry. Same thing, but just flipped, okay? So you need to be aware of that constant right hand between check and pattern. There shouldn't be any kind of hitch in your right. It should be constant, okay? So be aware of that you're thinking about the right hand not changing. Okay, same, but the opposite happens at C and D when you have this 1 E, a 2 E, or 1 T, te, 2 T, ta, or pineapple, pineapple. Your left hand is flowing now. And your right hand is downstroking that downbeat. D is the same thing, but now it's res ienda, res ienda. Now most people are going to want to put a stop in the left hand because of that rest on the downbeat, but again, the left hand flows. Okay, so that right hand downstroke actually happens on the and before D. So be aware, 4 E and a, and your left hand comes up, 4 E and a. It's kind of weird. See, your right hand's down and your left hand's up. So you have to think about that transition a little bit more. Of course, this is an exercise that goes check A, check B, check C, check D. Then you're going on to the tag. So make sure you're always going back to the check. So that transition might be an issue sometimes. So obviously you could practice this one measure at a time and make sure each measure is perfect. Back to check. And then go to B. That's a great way to practice. But I think the challenge on this is, again, thinking about that fulcrum change or that flow change. And so I would practice the transitions. So go from beat 3s to beat 3s. Or See, I had trouble there. I got to know where the left hand downstrokes. So don't just practice from beat 1. So I think going from beat 3 to beat 3 is also very good. Obviously, when we go to the tag, we're getting into our 2s and our 1s and our variations, because this is a 4-2-1 exercise, meaning 4 beats of a variation, then 2 beats of a variation, then 1 beat of a variation in a row. The difference is in the 4s, we have check in between. On 2s and 1s, I take away the check, just so we're making sure we're kind of creating 2 exercises out of 1. So again, you want to make sure you work through each transition and know where the flow hand changes and know where the downstroke occurs. I'd maybe even go as far as to put a down arrow on where the downstroke occurs in each measure. So when I'm doing the first tag, coconut, coconut, strawberry, strawberry, that full measure is right hand flow. Then I switch it, right, left, then it's left hand flow. 1E, 2E, E, and a. The first measure is right hand flow, second measure is left hand flow. When we get to the last line of the tag, it's halfway through the measure. Coconut, strawberry, pineapple. So it's going to be right, 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 left, right, left, 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 right, left, right. Okay? So sometimes the flow is intermixed too. So make sure you're trying to relax every moment you can. All right, let's go for it. Make sure you can mark time to all these exercises. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, duple timing number 2. Now the flow is totally cut out of here, but there are some moments of flow that you need to be aware of. Okay, so obviously the check will have a flow, and E going into E goes right away. 1E or 1-te or taco, right? 1E, 2E, taco, taco. Now those will both have moments of downstroke, but that first right and that first left are going to be coming from flow. So don't close until the last second. So I think E's pretty easy. 1E, 2E, and a 3E, and a 4E, and a. Make sure you're always thinking 60 notes. Chigga digga, chigga digga, chigga digga, chigga digga, and fitting it right into that grid. Okay? Now F is an 8th rest. So obviously going into F, that check 4E and a will downstroke on the and then again you're going to play on the and for everything else on F. Now that's an 8th rest, not a 16th rest, so you need to wait the appropriate amount of time. Most kids get F mixed up with H, so F is 1 8th note rest, which equals 2 16th note rests. So you can be, again, if you're thinking grid, you can go 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a, I think 2 rest, 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 and a, rest, rest, and a. You could do that, and then H is rest, E and, rest, E and. That's only 1 16th note rest, so that might help some of you that are having trouble making the distinction. But obviously coming out of F, you're gonna stop downstroking and flow right into the check. Rest and a, rest and a, rest and a, rest and a, 1E. You gotta flow right into it. Now G is the most straightforward. You got your check and then you're kind of downstroking from there. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1. For some reason, beginners like to go right, right, left. That's not correct. It's 1E and is the left. Right, left, right, left, right. Don't double anything. Going from check to H, this is the most difficult flow hand to think about. Going from the check on beat 4, 4E and your left hand will actually upstroke. Your right hand freezes. So 4E and I would work on that first. 4E and 4E and your left hand's ready for E and. Then it downstrokes. 4E and E and. So I kind of think about an extended 4E and E and. So you have 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and E and, E and, E and, E and. Make sure H fits into the grid. Rest E and a, rest E and a, rest E and a, rest E and a. Now going from H back into the tag, your right hand will flow. E and 1. It'll have kind of a relaxed right into the and. E and 1. E and 1. So you have down, 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 flow here. Then you'll downstroke again. Okay, now tag. Again, doing our 2s now. And the tag to start. We have 3 moments of legato hands that are just really brief and hard to think about if you don't really understand them. So let's break them down real quick. You have 1E and a, 2E and a, 3E and a, 4E and a. That and will flow and a 1E and. Now we're back to downstrokes. 1E and up, 2E and E and. E and 1. You have another and there. So to recap, we have 1E and a 2E and a 3 and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and E and 1. See, I'm exaggerating on all the flow hands. Now on the last line, you have those same flow hands, but because of the way it's written, they happen a lot quicker. 1E, rest, rest, and 1, E, and 1. So they happen more back to back. This one has more of a groove to it, so it might happen more naturally for you. Okay, all right, let's give it a shot. 1, 2, 1, 2, right, and go. Maybe practice filled in as well at a slower tempo. Do your check low. And a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1, 2, 3, 4. E and. You get the idea. Okay, duple accent shift. So this is all about downstrokes and good sound quality down low and making sure that you only have 2 heights instead of 3. What do I mean by 3 heights? So these downstrokes have to be so pure that they end down and you don't accidentally end them in the middle in no man's land. So this is a very back fulcrum exercise where you're closing your hand down. Again, not too tight, but we're controlling the stick. So low to check. And we're checking all these accents are going straight down to 3. So all these are going to have kind of a bucks feel. So A is, so what's your right hand doing? And when we're doing B, what's your left hand doing? So I think it's a good idea to really make sure you're practicing bucks at this tempo and make sure your bucks is good. You might want to start lower and make sure that that lower 3-inch level is good and then get it a little higher. That's what we want, a pure downstroke. Good heights. We don't want this. That ain't gonna work, okay? Same thing with your left hand. Okay, you don't want to overplay those accents and distort things. Everything's gonna needs to be calm. So maybe start high and then go low. Make sure we're not changing anything when we go to accents. Yeah, other than that, you seem to learn the patterns here. So we're just gonna go for it. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, duple timing number 3 is basically accent shift but without check. So basically accent shift sets you up for duple timing 3, which is why I put it before duple timing number 3, because it sets you up. So all these will be downstroke. Down, 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 down. Down, 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 down. So all these are downstroked. Okay, 2 places you need to be aware of flow on duple timing number 3 is going from check into J, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and E. So you're gonna flow from the and then the E you'll downstroke. Okay, so E, make sure you're nice relaxed. Okay, and then downstroke. Going from K back to check will flow. Rest and rest down, rest, flow 1 and 2 and. So you'll have a flow in the and before you go back to check. Other than that, everything's downstroked. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. So the hardest ones on here are the left-hand variations. So that 16th rest is quick on J. Press E, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Most kids are late. And they make it more like on the and. 1 and 2 and. That's not right. It's 1 E, 2 E, tuck up, tuck up. It's quick. Okay? And then the last one, 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a. Usually they're rounded off into a triplet and are early. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a. It's got to be 16th note trip. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 1. Okay, so make sure you're very disciplined. And these are sharp 16th note interpretation. Everything fits into a 16th note grid. Okay, triplet timing. Now obviously the check will flow here. Triplet, triplet, stop. Okay, obviously we're in a triplet field here. Now I want to skip ahead to C. Of course, depending on the tempo, we will change the fulcrum. So most of the time, here's what C will feel like. Okay, we have 1, Li 2, Li 3, Li 4, Li 1. So that's going flow down, flow down. So make sure you are playing the same heights, and it's a rebound and then a downstroke. 1 Li, 2 Li, 3 Li, 4 Li, 1 Li, 2 Li, 3 Li, 4. That kind of goes back and forth. That kind of shapes the feel of this whole thing. It should have a nice legato, easy feel. And we want to take that same idea and put that into A and B. Although A and B are different rhythms, it's the same feel. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly. But you can also transform that into C. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 1 Li, 2 Li, 3 Li, 4 Li. So B is the same thing. Lolly, 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 1 Li, 2 Li, 3. It's the same thing, but it's just shifted over a beat. So make sure you have C built up to be nice and flowy, and make sure A and B match that same flow. Obviously going from check to A has a flow, triplet da, right? And then B has a flow into the left hand, check to B. Make sure the left hand doesn't stop going into B. And then the right hand has continuous flow going into C. Triplet, 1, Li, 2 before downstrokes on the Li. When you get to the tag, now we get to our 2s. So there is a pause going to the second measure of the tag. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1. So you gotta make sure you wait and don't be early there. But the right hand's gonna have a lot of flow coming up. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 Li, 1 Li, 2 lolly, 1 Li. So you have 2 flows and then a down. So make sure you're paying attention, not downstroking unnecessarily. I think it's real important on the last one to think about the downbeat of 2. Also on the tag on the 2s, the repeat back to the 2s, your left hand has 3 flows in a row. 2 Li, 3 lolly, 4. 1 lolly, 2 lolly, 3 lolly, 4 lolly, 1 Li, 2 Li, 3 lolly, 4 la. So you won't downstroke until beat 2 when you repeat it. So be aware your left can relax there. 1, 2, ready, go. Okay, triplet accent shift. So this is just triplet bass, and know where your downstrokes are, just like duple accent shift. Make sure all your accents are pure and end down, nothing in no man's land, so know when to close. It's a very back fulcrum exercise, and it's pretty much pattern based. Now at the end here, there is kind of a shortcut here on the last 3 measures of the tag. Triplet, 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 triplet. It's going triplet, 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 but those are going to have a pattern where it goes rights and then lefts. Triplet, 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 and that pattern is based on 4s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1. So if that helps you, find a flow, you should be able to think about triplets. But if that helps you find the flow, triplet, 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 that might help you. It helped me. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go. All right, note value changes. This is a very simple exercise, but it's a lot harder than it looks. Make sure you are changing note values on a dime, and make sure you have the metronome on. You want the perfect distance in that first left of every change. So, for example, 1 and 2, triplet 2, 1 and 2, triplet 2, 1 and 2, triplet 2, 1 and 2, triplet 2. So maybe play those high and then the rest low. That might be a good start. So I'm just trying to make sure these are in the forefront of my mind. And then I do normal, but think about that. Da 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 da. Digga digga da. Da 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 da. Da da da. Da 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 da. Digga digga da. Da 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 da. Da. It's hard to say and play, but that's the idea that should be going on in your head. You don't want to dimmer switch your way through this. Okay? So you don't want to go da da da. Da 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 da, and then speed up. Digga digga da. Da da da. Right? You want to make sure it's like a light switch. You also might want to try this with accents, okay, on the downbeats. Really break it down, note value change to note value change, and then transitions from note value change to note value change. You have to use a metronome. Obviously, there's also a fulcrum change, depending on the tempo. Eighth notes are in the back. I still feel like the triplets at this tempo are in the back, but towards the middle, so back middle. 16th notes are in the front, so you have to switch your fulcrums in time too. So there's a lot more to this exercise than it seems. Let's give it a shot. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, go.